The numbers are in, everybody. The numbers are in, everybody. How much does wearing a mask and closing down restaurants help in fighting this virus? We've all been doing our duty. Let's see how much we've been helping. Finally, we've got a CDC study. This is on the CDC website here. And it's got a really long title, but all it really means is, let's find out how effective masks are in reducing the spread of the coronavirus. And this was done in the United States, March through December. And basically, let's take a look at the summary real quick. The summary says, universal masking and avoiding non-essential indoor spaces are recommended to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. Now you can read through this and most people are going to pick this up and see, I told you that these stop the spread. And they do, but they never really mention how much. So before I show you how much, they don't even mention it here at the beginning. Before I mention how much, for you, how much would it be a significant percentage to issue a universal mandate on mask wearing in all places, all spaces? What's the percentage? 10% reduction, 50% reduction? But I want you to kind of set your number up in your mind. Well, the numbers are in. Here are the graphs that show the change. And basically, just so you understand it, this is the association between changes in COVID-19 cases, death growth rates, and implementation of mask mandates. So that's A over here. That's A. This is the mask mandate, this graph on A. And then following in on-premise restaurant dining is B. So ones that allow dining, this shows the growth rate increase on the one on B on the right. Decrease for wearing masks on the left, increase from going dining on the right. And when you look at these graphs without looking at the numbers, you're like, wow, really? They go down with masks, it goes up with dining. So makes sense. But look at the numbers. This is 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%. These aren't factors of 10. These are factors of 1 here on the left, right? So once masks started coming in within the first 20 days, it reduced the spread by, almost 1%. After 40 days, you're still down here kind of at 1%. Let's zoom in a little bit. And by the end, after 100 days, wearing masks, we are down to a 2% reduction in change in death, in the number of deaths. And believe me, every person saved is worth it, right? So there is something to be said there. Now let's take a look at restaurants. So how much did opening restaurants increase it? And you're like, wow, that just went up a lot. Well, take a look. It's in factors of 1% too, which here it looks like change in death growth rate. So the blue line and the black line, so black line is change in case growth rate. Okay, so this is number of cases, kind of just basically flatlined. But then death rate did go up in those areas that had open restaurants. Okay, so that's what it is. But really, let's take a look. 3%, the death rate went up. And really, the number of cases, it's interesting that it flatlines after this. And that seems like it would be expected, like once a virus works its way through the population, right? So is that really worth setting a universal mandate? And in my heart, I want to say, yeah, because it saved people. But you have to think about the flip side of the coin here. Like, because we're all mandated to wear masks and not meet, there's things that have happened. Domestic violence has gone up. Suicide, drug abuse, they're all on the rise due to the quarantine. And believe me, my brother-in-law, we lost him during the quarantine because of some of these things. So is it worth it? You need to be the decision maker. You need to do your research. And on the news, it's like, it tells you, can face masks lower oxygen levels or weaken the immune system? So here's the thing, that people say that the news says it doesn't impact you quite that much, but I see different things in life. You need to go out and just see what's happening. I was at a basketball game and they were wearing their mask cheering, and by the end of the game, she's like, I have a headache. Well, that's kind of a sign that you might not be getting enough oxygen, right? So you need to be considerate about your environment. Like, I live in a high altitude environment where there is less oxygen, right? So you need to be taking that into consideration. I want to play something for you, because this just kind of illustrates the point of what you need to think about with your individual circumstances. This is in Idaho. They were having like a school board meeting about the use of masks. So they're having this school board meeting. I'll pull it up in just a second. And I'll play just the first part. If you want to watch the whole thing, I'll put a link to the whole thing down in the description. And she is feisty. She is feisty about this, which she cares about the children. I get it. But you need to be thinking about this and just pay attention to what happens.
But I do think that we should follow their request and their recommendation for masking.
Masking universally when you cannot maintain social distance needs to happen for our best effort to keep the children in school.
Laura, how often has the CDC been to our district?
You know what? The CDC doesn't visit any school districts.
Exactly. That's my point. They are creating regulations.
No, you interrupted me, Paul.
Country.
You interrupted me.
Go ahead.
Please do not interrupt me.
First of all, don't mess with this lady. She is on fire.
They make recommendations for the entire country based on their knowledge and their understanding of what is best for everyone. And they don't need to visit our school district to make recommendations for everyone. And they currently have recommendations out that with the current level of transmission in Bonneville County, that we should be in hybrid for the elementary schools and virtual for middle schools and high schools. And we're not following that. But I do think that we should follow their request and their recommendation for masking. I'm done.
I'm done.
So you want to pick and choose?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do want to pick and choose.
She is feisty. Wow. And she almost lost there. And, it just seems like she has lack of oxygen. Maybe she has something else going on, right? But it kind of illustrates that point of we all live very different circumstances. And we should be able to, there should be a basic guideline for sure. But this whole mandate, I'd like to know what you think. Drop it down in the comments. You can watch this full thing below. And really, these two, he and her do agree on wanting to do what's best for the children, which I think is great. But this is what I see in life. I see people at certain things, it's like, this mask isn't helping you. And it does help in the fact it does help reduce the spread of COVID by 1 or 2%. And is that worth it to you? I'd love to hear what you have to say. But that's what's going on out there in the world of masks. Millions of dollars spent to find out that those masks help reduce the spread of COVID by a solid 2, maybe 3%. And I tell you, restaurants, you are spreading COVID like crazy. 2 to 3%. So, watch out. Do your own research, and I'll catch you later on The Truth Crossing. We are all about finding the truth here and having a good conversation. I think that's what we need more of. We need to have good conversations out here in this world. Hey, we're all about discovering truth here at The Truth Crossing. Be sure to check the video description for all the links. Watch the full version of that video from the Idaho school board meeting. It's a gem. It's a gem. Enjoy. And be sure to do what's right for your family. Look at both sides of the coin. The news says one thing, other people say another thing that doesn't get on the news. You need to look at both sides and decide what works best for you. And I'll catch you later.